Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and all dignitaries present here, all my friends, students. And without wasting much time, I'll just start sharing my slide, and we'll speak about this uh, climate change. So now, climate change has become a very common knowledge, and still we are not very clear about the career opportunities, the specialties, specializations, and many other scopes about the this not so emergency because this field of climate change. So in this talk, I just try to uh, elaborate some of the things which are really we have to think uh, as an emerging branch for our students. Although a lot of research is going on, so what is the status of the research? Very briefly, the opportunities from the students' point of view. So the slides, whether the slides are visible. I hope the slides are visible. And I made the slide somewhat more narrative because sometimes my voice may not, some qualities may be there, bad qualities about the voice with the different instruments. So climate change and global warming, it has become common. Everyone talks about climate change and global warming. And it has become more common since we started observing the effects with or without instrumental data. These are very common effects. Everyone is reading in the news and at many places that successive increasing hottest years are occurring since 1998. The sea level is rising, but the rate of acceleration rates are accelerating, and they are causing visibly they are causing coastal erosion and many other inundation kind of things in the coastal region. And also, it is very common to know that there is accelerated melting of the glaciers in the hemisphere, and the ice on both the poles and I just okay. And rising ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, coral bleaching, all this we are observing. Altered patterns of the monsoon, the annual temperatures, they are affecting the crop patterns and productivity. And increasing frequency and the style of extreme, pardon? Increasing frequency and style of extreme events, storms, floods, wildfires, or everything increasing. The climate change impact is not a strange issue for a geologist. Climate has been changing number of times at a greater intensity than the present scenario. So I'm not going to the geological definition, but we should see the IPCC definition. Let us follow the IPCC definition. Climate change refers to a change in the state of climate that can be identified using statistical tests by changes in the mean and or variability of its properties, and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. So the definition doesn't include anything about climate change as a disaster or something that we are not going to sustain all these things. It is a natural phenomena so far from all these definitions. Also, if you look at the geological past, not the entire Earth, but just 60 million years, what we call Cenozoic, you will see there are a number of instances of the climate change of the greater intensity and magnitude than the present state. So in this diagram, you can see from 0 to 60 or say 65 million years, Cenozoic period. The earliest part, you can see, it shows more warmer climate than the present. That is zero. The Earth has already experienced a lot of warming events in the past, and we are in the cooling phase of the Earth. And within the warming phase, you can see the PETM written here. PETM is Paleocene, Eocene warming occurred at a very short period. But this short is geologically short. That means about 10,000 or 20,000 or more than that. And what we are experiencing, the rapid warming, is not in the context of geology because it is too short. It is anthropogenic, it is artificial to the Earth. So all these things have happened, and that is very well documented by very scientific data from the oceans and many geological expeditions, in the marine records, in the ice records, in the Arctic and the Antarctic ice records, ice core records. All this is very nicely documented. Yes. I'm sorry for that. And if you look at this climate changes, again, the natural changes, this is also some modeling from, this is modeling by some group from the American University. So we need not to look at everything, but you just look at the Indian part. During this time, at 50 million years, you can see the sea level has encroached this large part of the Rajasthan, UP. This is the sea has encroached. So we have experienced the climate change of larger dimensions, larger geographic extension, larger intensity, not we, but the Earth. Also, if you look at if you call CO2 emission, the greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere, you look at the intensities. The earlier it has experienced CO of the magnitudes of 7,000 ppmb, and now we are, say, from last 500 million years, we have low level of CO2, which has flourished the biodiversity, biota, life, and all these things because of a kind of greenhouse effect. So greenhouse is also not bad for the Earth. Greenhouse is also necessary for the Earth. But if you look at this particular peak, say from for the last 100 years, you can see there is a sudden rise. Before that, you can see there is a behavior of the curve that is dependent upon the glacial interglacial cycles. But coming to this century, then you can see there is a unimodal change, unimodal rise in the temperature. And this is unprecedented. This is what is worried. Now, the sustainability of human sustainability for the climate change. You can see we'll not go too older like billion years, but just 20,000 years, 20,000 years back. So this is present, and this is 20,000 years. So we have already experienced a greatest climate change, say warming, that is called Younger Dryas, that is around 10,000 years in presence of human. So human have already accepted this greatest change, and after that, for a long time period, say 10,000 years, a climate, a comfortable climate, which emerged the civilizations, our comfort, flourishing civilization, modernization, all these things were permitted because of this sweet climate, plus minus one variation of the climate of the mean Earth climate. We have developed a lot of civilizations, all these Mesopotamia, then Viking, all these civilizations, and also a lot of Indian civilizations. But after this point, this is the onset of the industrial era. You can see the curve is going out of scale. And we are still, even if you expect in the 21st century, end of 21st century, we are expecting plus 4-degree rise. Whether we are susceptible, we are sustainable to this climate, that we don't know, because we have already left our natural habits. The human here at about 10,000 years, they accepted without any technology, without any other facility, without any much civilization, they accepted the climate and they survived entire this 10,000 years. So now, whether we are ready to survive, taking help of a technology, taking help of, say, reducing the carbon emission, sequestration of. Hello. So we must agree that all the other life forms on the earth readily accepted and readily accepts the laws of nature. The human race is, however, greatly concerned about its safety, secure future, comfortable future than any other living organism. Also, humans have made these unprecedented changes that is nicely proved by all the scientific records. These unprecedented changes on the earth, and it is our responsibility to rectify or face the change. And for both these things we have to be prepared. So what are the things immediately what we are going to experience or suffer? Forget about the paleoclimate data, the older records, how humans have survived, how other animals have, the life forms have survived. But if you look at the immediate effects, the impact of the climate, then you can see the inner circle, which are the driving effects. CO2 emission, greenhouse gas emission, that is rising the temperature, and it is causing extreme weather conditions and rising sea level. This is in turn affecting or interacting with the other effects. The air pollution has a handshake with this problem. Air pollution, we can have several diseases, cardiovascular diseases. Then change in the vector ecology, the mosquitoes and other kind of vectors going to experience more and more malaria, dengue, encephalitis, all these I will not read. Then is water quality impact, water and food supply impact, environmental degradation, extreme heat. So it is like a slow poison. It is a overall effect for everyone, and we have to do something. Again, just to summarize, the ongoing climate change will significantly impact ecological, economic, and social ecosystems. The sea level rise, changing the precipitation pattern that we are seeing, how monsoon pattern is changing, increased frequency and intensity of the extreme weather conditions, heat waves, drought, floods, storms, several indirect impacts like decrease in crop yield, crop productivity pattern, then increase in vector-borne diseases, and there is a lot of estimate on the economic losses from this impact. So there is one report that indicates 1998 to 2007, globally around 3 trillion economic loss is there. And in India, $80 billion of economic loss. All these are the UN reports. So in all these conditions, India really plays a very important role. India ranked 6th most vulnerable country to climate change impact and global climate risk index. So what is worried about, because otherwise if you go on studying the geological records, past records, doing a lot of research and producing a lot of climate models, meteorologists, physicists, everyone is working on this aspect. But unless you have some economic implication, it doesn't become a global problem. And again, with this slide, you can just, I will go rapidly. increase the cost for adopting coastal cities and coastal areas to rising sea level and their relocation, shrinking productivity, increasing temperature in the oceans. The increasing temperatures will change the metabolism of the ocean biota and the productivity will change. Then prices of basic foodstuffs will increase, extreme meteorological phenomena will increase, disease will spread, fresh water will be at short, more wars may cause because of some climate region, loss of the capacity to work due to heat, our physical fitness. Then there are several such slides. I will not show, really, I should not go into all these slides, the impact of the climate change or global warming. The causative impacts, causative reasons may be agriculture, fossil fuel, and deforestation, which are emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. It is causing ocean acidification. So this is a simple feedback diagram, how everything is interrelated. What are the feedback mechanism, how they can affect because of the climate change. One will give trigger to another effect will trigger to some more other effects. And ultimately, habitat destruction, the ecosystem collapse. We are now presently seeing the ecosystem collapse in the Arctic region, in the Great Barrier, and many other references may be there. Or biodiversity loss or increase in a different way. Intensification of the extreme events, all these things are there. And all the countries, they have nicely, specifically, lot of reports are available from USA. They have calculated the economic loss for 1 degree rise, 2 degree rise, 3 degree rise, or up to 6 degree rise. They have nicely calculated, and it is very significant if you look at all these records. Still, there are lot of arguments in accepting the scientifically, although we are experiencing and convinced with the database and records, observable signatures, and the arguments for climate change should not be there. We should agree that a climate change is there and we should act, and that the humans have caused the climate change also should not have lot of arguments. But there is something that is hurdling this issue is the geopolitical deafness and the vicious circles. They are neglecting the issue. Beyond the crimes, if you say nature is a code, so it is like a crime in the laws of nature, and will require, and as much we delay to act, we will require greater and greater effect, greater cost for these kind of actions. Coming to India again, these are also some reports. This is a heat wave. So there are increasing number of deaths because of heat wave. This is up to 2015. Several records may be there. And in the central part of India, that is interior, land interior, where there is less precipitation, the heat waves are more intense. All the central states like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, part of Rajasthan, all these, they are vulnerable to heat waves. And severe heat waves conditions are occurring, and they will grow if you don't act. Then the pattern of commodity, pattern of agriculture, that will also change. We need lot of knowledge. So what kind of agriculture pattern should be adopted for this kind of climatic region with the climate change effects, that has to be studied. And then there are several reports. This is from the Indian Network for the Climate Change. They have assessed that the warmer seasons will increase annual precipitation, but the pattern will change. The frequency of rain days change in increase intensity. I am not going into detail because The different groups are there which accepts with some kind of change and another kind of change, but everyone accepts with the change. Then cyclonic disturbance, lower frequency, increased intensity of the cyclones and all these things, and sea level rise, the problems with the fresh water supply. All these factors, if you face in isolation, it is sustainable. But if you face all these factors simultaneously, there is cyclone from the east coast and west coast. There is flooding in the northern part, and there is a vector disease in other part. So this simultaneous effect is very important, very significant. Again, some more records are there. Change in forest and ecosystem, human health, reduced agriculture productivity, and overall risk to ecosystem if you divide India into different regions, geological or geographic regions. The Himalayan regions, the glacial melt, lot of flooding. This will cause lot of changes in the ecology in this entire region. Increased incidence of the floods, calamities, cloudburst, the glacial lake outburst, and increased stress to human and other life forms, increased probability of the transboundary issues, variability in the monsoon affecting this region, coastal erosion, both the coast, and relocation may be required for several reasons because of the rise in sea level. Again, coming to same issues, so everyone is going to affect. No one is going to escape from this kind of effect. The flooding in the coastal cities due to sea level rise is very acceptable. There is no doubt. Increase in tropical cyclones we are seeing, and the rainfall pattern due to warming of the oceans. Decrease in seafood due to acidification of the ocean. The entire biological system of the seafood is going to change. Reduced water availability due to melting of the glaciers, snow, and all these things. Coral bleaching. The cities like economically important cities, metros like Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, all this they are going to affect because of rising sea level. These are just news report based on some scientific data. Consider very accurately all these figures, but they are very serious figures. 30 to 60 centimeter rise by 21st 100, nearly certain, even if carbon emission are sharply reduced. The ocean has a particular mechanism. The thermal expansion, the input from the glacial melt, input from the are going to accumulate and going to change the estimated figures of sea level rise. 60 to 110 centimeter if emission continues to increase with the if the levels rise by 50 centimeter, 45 cities with 5 lakh plus residents will be flooded. All these cities, Mumbai, Kolkata, and all these things. Again, this is some report depicting the inundation because of the sea level rise. All these red colors are the inundation because of the sea level rise. The main cause of the climate change is the anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission. So these gases absorb infrared radiations emitted from the Earth's surface, thereby trapping heat in the atmosphere. All these are very common knowledge. Most of the environmental science graduate must be knowing all this in detail. CO2, CH, methane, nitrous oxide, all these are the greenhouse gases. Only thing that is known to common man. As science graduate, as a professional, we should know more details about this. How CO2 reacts in the atmosphere, what is the life of CO2 in the atmosphere, what happens after that, how CO2 is absorbed in the ocean, how it interacts, what kind of ion it is going to affect the entire system. A lot of detailed knowledge is required. So CO2 is a unit for global warming potential. We always say carbon dioxide, but carbon dioxide, it means other greenhouse gases also, like methane, nitrous oxide, HFC, PFC, all these things, they are for unit purpose, they are called carbon dioxide in the greenhouse gas emission. And the global warming potential is calculated with carbon dioxide taking as a unit. So carbon dioxide, whatever it is causing the greenhouse gas emission and global warming, that is one unit. Its life in the atmosphere is 50 to 200 years. But if you look at the other gases like methane, global GW potential is 21 and life is less. Nitrous oxide, very high potential. HFC, very, very high potential. PFC, very high potential. You can see the highest potential by SF6. So all these high potential gases also we have to account. We have to be agile. What is happening in a combined manner as a greenhouse gas effect. So now, what is the reason I am telling here in context to our career opportunities that will come with some more slides later. So globally, there is a continuous observation of all these things. And globally, there are agreements, there are narratives, there are agreements, there are laws, legalities, which are very well formed, very well discussed. And the report, IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, assessment report, that is called, very thick report, that is the evidence of this kind of activity. The activities like all these conferences or meetings, the first meeting was these are all summits. This first summit was 1992, UNFCCC. Then very famous, very nicely known to all of us is the Kyoto Protocol, 1997, 2007. So this is just a account of all these summits which have gathered a lot of confrontation, especially from the developing countries, developed countries, independent countries with different issues. So these are all big conferences for the international agreement, international discussion on climate change, and also the foundation for policy formulation for all the government. No country can escape from these kind of agreements. Why they cannot escape, again, that we will see later. And this tell us about the mitigation. Sorry. This tell us about the action to be undertaken. Actions, what are the actions? Mitigation, reducing the risk. Then adaptation, whatever climate change is there, we have to adapt. It is a natural system. Then remediation, risk reduction, sequestration, means whatever carbon or the greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere, we have to reduce them. We have to restore. So that is called sequestration. Then tracking, lot of research is required, database is required for tracking and prediction and sustainable development. This is one example how carbon sequestration has to be undertaken in a very safe mode. We cannot stop our industry, we have to run our industry because we have to run the economy. But we can sequester the carbon. The carbon can be buried into coal mines, unminable coal beds, or geological conditions where the carbon can be stored in a safe manner without affecting anything. So all these activities are undergoing, and India has definitely paved some targets. How much achieved and all these things is I'm not going to discuss, but targets are there which are imposed by all these agreements, like Paris Agreement. This is Paris Agreement target for 2030. Up to 2030, we have to reduce the greenhouse gas emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% below 2005 level. 40% of its power capacity should be based on non-fossil fuel, solar energy, wind energy, all these kind of thing. We should create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion years, 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2. These things has to be followed by the government. Otherwise, what will happen if we don't follow? If it is not mandatory, if we don't follow, then we have a lot of other things we have to face, like loans from the World Bank. They may have certain norms that we will give you the loan on unless only if you follow this agreement or that agreement related to climate change. International treaties and business will be founded on this kind of policies. Company obligations of carbon footprints. The company cannot grow or cannot start its plant unless it estimates its carbon footprints. Then international grants, etc. All these things are there. So if we control all these things, not only for economy, but also for the other effects like heat wave effect. If we control, this is the heat wave high risk zone, as I shown in the earlier slide. We should have a target to bring to this level. If we control all these things, we can do it. Now India has already started. The Ministry of Earth Science recently made an effort of the assessment of the climate change over Indian region. This is first kind of report. If you look at the international scenario, all other countries have advanced. Of course, all developed countries, they have a lot of such reports. And the IPCC, already we are probably in the 6th assessment report. But IPCC generalizes many things, and every individual country has to identify its pattern of climate change, source of emission, remediation for a better mitigation. And this is a first effort from the Indian government, Ministry of Earth Science. Most of the contribution is from the IITM Pune. But still, it is just an introductory report. This is just assessing based on the available data, the quality of data, the pattern of data, and its modeling. All this, there may be some limitations, but this is a first good beginning. And more reports have to come after this to find the state of climate change in our country. So what we need to do, create an awareness and knowledge based on data, research to understand the change and find the predictions and solutions, frame the policies, rules, taxing and legal actions. Internationally, there may be Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, all these things may be there, but unless we do it at a country level, we cannot come to the framework of the international laws. So at national level, we have to do all these things and take the measures to repair the damage, mitigation, resilience, and a sustainable development. The actions like damage control and upgradation of the natural conditions, auditing, reporting, resolution, taxing, willful responsibilities like sustainable development, uncertainty reduction and prediction by database research, disaster remediation, mitigation, climate appraisal. So internationally, if you look at the norm, already very detailed norms are there. There are ISO standards like ISO 9000. There are climate related ISO standards. Those are 14061 to 65, very detailed documentation. How emission budgeting has to be followed. How carbon footprints can be calculated to estimate the emission from various activities, various industrial equipments, even the generator running in an industry, how much is emitting, what are the carbon footprints of the given product. All these things are very essential nowadays. Otherwise, our import export, the export may affect. And what kind of people, what kind of workforce we need for that, what kind of knowledge we need for that is somewhat uncertain. And that's why this talk is there for that purpose only. We don't have any specific branch like say MSc climate change and management or something like that, but the climate change issues are now being inducted in various syllabuses. So any one syllabus is not going to solve these problems, and that's why we need some special efforts. But for time being, we can say lot of inputs from MSc environment, lot of physics is there, geophysics, and lot of management is there. Pre-emission references, site survey, feasibility survey, EIA, all these things can be nicely done by MSc Environmental Science graduates, geology, geography, geoinformatics. Remediation budgeting for reduction, compensation, or sequestration of the greenhouse gases. Again, because the best way for sequestration is the plantation. So what kind of plantation should be done? Which variety of the tree does maximum sequestration? Whether it is a mango tree or the neem tree, that can be understood nicely by MSc Botany, we graduates or environment, or very importantly, the agriculture graduates, sometimes geology, geophysics, chemistry. Carbon credit accounting, marketing, exchange policies. So if you look at this ISO 140616263, like that, lot of accountability is there. Means accounting is there, lot of legality is there. So those can be very nicely dealt by graduates of MBA, commerce graduates, law graduates. Climate issue litigation, because once you impose these policies, once you impose these laws, then a lot of litigations will be there. So then that litigation kind of studies, the geology, geography, these people may not be very competent, but we need law graduates. Climate benchmarking. If we say that the climate has deteriorated, it needs some reference point. It needs some examples. It needs a lot of experience from the earth. That experience can be gathered from a treasure of climate data in geology, in earth, that can be nicely understood by the graduates of the geology. Sustainable development through government, private programs is going to happen. Again, environmental science, geology, geoinformatics, sorry for spelling mistake. Then afforestation, water conservation, development of sanctuaries, pollution cleaning, MSc engineering, MSc botany, agriculture. All these graduates are very essential. Disaster management, mitigation, resilience. Again, MSc geology, geography, environmental science, all these graduates, they are very important. Data production, monitoring, and research. MSc, PhD, atmospheric science, geophysics, geology, environmental science, botany, agriculture. Again, going back to that assessment report of India, you will see lot of scientists are from the physics background, chemistry background, botany background, and they find there are limitations in the data, not only number of data but the kind of data, in order to have a real assessment. So we need lot of research graduate from all these different branches. Then climate change awareness program. Lot of social science graduates or any earth science graduate, they can nicely do this awareness program. Lot of NGOs, they are doing this kind of work. So ultimately, what are the tools we need for this kind of opportunity, instead of defining different graduates from environmental science, atmospheric science, or all these things, what is the basic understanding we need to work in this field is the most important is the climate is a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary kind of field. So we need multidisciplinary understanding of the climate change process and their direct and indirect interaction with the development. Climate change scenario, understand the climate change scenarios and vulnerabilities, maybe a lot of social issues, the international and national policy responses, contributions and sensitivities to climate change in different sectors, the disaster identification, disaster mitigation and adaptation, resilience measures, inquiry into sustainable development, socio-economic response, livelihood and food security, and also the health. I forgot to mention here health. So medical graduates are also concerned. Sustainable development and poverty reduction, to understand and anticipate rapidly changing science. This rapidly changing, again, climate change itself is a complex phenomenon. Above that, it is rapidly changing. Whether the knowledge is rapidly changing or the effect is rapidly changing, we need not to specify, but it is rapidly changing. And the environmental and social, political, economic context of the climate change by integrating into their core qualifications of atmospheric science, environmental science, geology, and geophysics. What kind of skills we need? The analytical skills, observing a large number of data in the form of patterns, maybe using some advanced softwares, the artificial intelligence, or anything that is happening nowadays in the IT industry for the big data to solve the climate change problems and identify low carbon development options. So engineers have to do a lot of things. They have to replace the present commodities, present consumer atoms with low carbon development options. And not only design the low carbon development options, but also calculate its footprints and how much it is going to contribute to the GHG emission, and whether this consumer atom, if they want to export, which country is going to consider to buy this item. Then ability to present critical insights into how current developmental models produce environmental problems like climate change, which themselves threaten the objectives of the development. Ability to assess the magnitude of change required to confront and problems of climate change. Provide the most sustainably convincing, economically viable solution. And also probably climate change has a lot of opportunities, not only as jobs in the government, in projects, in NGOs.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just two slides.
Sorry for sorry
Yeah.
for the interruption, sir.
Yeah.
How many more slides do you have?
Two slides. These are two last
Okay,
slides.
sir.
Sorry for the delay. So climate change, lot of research is required, action, lot of actions are required. I will not go into detail. And interdisciplinary science, all these branches, atmospheric science, environmental geography, all these things are involved. At least till we have a widespread introduction of the MSc or MTech climate change, even if it is introduced, all these branches also should, from their perspective, should have a lot of influx from the inputs from the climate change point of view. Now, lastly, I would like to show my assessment that all these organizations, what kind of actions they should take, what kind of measures they should take. All these ministry, MOEs, I am including their departments, they should create a lot of funding, special programs, develop policies. CSR MOEs, they should develop industrial policies and norms to reduce the effects of climate change. Universities should introduce credits across the discipline for various aspects of climate change. students and graduates should create a lot of fascination, innovation towards the issue, represent the climate change problems, and popularize it. Industry and consultants spend more and more money on climate change. They have to spend, take advantage of the ISO norms, internationalizing their business, and measures from the government to introduce special university. Maybe my imagination, but special universities like Climate Change University. So thank you very much.